This video is sponsored by Rocket Money. The fitness industry is notorious for having the biggest egos in the world, and this has caused some of the most intense online arguments ever, from simple online call-outs to physical fights when they meet off the screen. In this video, we're breaking down each of the most infamous online beefs, starting with the most recent, where Jeff Nippard got under Mike Van Wyck's skin enough for him to actually send Jeff to the hospital. Jeff Nippard is one of the industry's most loved influencers, with his relaxed and science-based approach to bodybuilding making him seem to be incredibly likable, but obviously not to everybody. One person who took issue with Jeff sharing his science-based approach was Mike Van Wyck, an ex-security guard and professional gear blaster. It seems as though the roid rage was getting to his head as he released this video on Jeff Nippard, while not calling him out directly, questioned his science-based approach and even titled the video Science-Based Scammers.
We all know the science-based guys. Any top three you choose. Tell me if you would describe their physique as excellent, average, or mediocre. And where would you put them in that? I guarantee it's not in excellent. It's somewhere in the middle, right? Science guys really need to answer this question before anything. Why is it that you remain so mediocre, yet you know so much?
Obviously, even though Jeff is half the size of Mike, he wasn't going to let this call out go unanswered and gave an emphatic response to him, which he was well within his right to do.
I need to respond to this, but since he asked, using science-based training, I won Natural Bodybuilding Nationals. I earned my pro card on the most competitive stage in the World Natural Bodybuilding Federation. I placed second in my first bodybuilding pro show, and while doing this, I set the Canadian record on the bench press, and I set a provincial record on the squat. I currently weigh 180 pounds at 5 foot 5 inches tall, which is pretty close to my natural limit given my height and my genetics. That's all besides the point though, because facts are facts. Information is either right or wrong. It doesn't matter who that information is coming from. If the people with the best physiques had the most knowledge, why would C-Bum need a coach?
One important bit of context is that Jeff knew Mike trained at the same gym as him, but he could not have predicted the upcoming events.
Damn.
This short was released a few days ago, and just a day or two since posting the video, on the 21st of October 2024, it seems like he really upset Mike with showing off his accolades and essentially putting the meathead in his place. Mike wasn't going to let this stand, which is where the following shocking events occurred. It's honestly disgusting that Mike would do this, and Jeff has since revealed he's actually in the hospital over this, as Mike grabbed him by the neck and could have caused him serious damage. Since then, the entire fitness industry has rallied behind Jeff and has been destroying Mike in his comment section for acting the way he did, with the top comment being, "What a fragile little man you are." Jeff Nippard released an Instagram post claiming that Mike jabbed him multiple times in the neck and even pushed his cameraman, which is all on unreleased CCTV footage. But the gym it occurred in claims that because the matter is now with police, they won't be commenting further. The next influencer beef is actually with another of Jeff Nippard's longtime rivals, Greg Doucette. However, this beef is with Greg and Mike Israetel, who called Coach Greg a two-faced, lying sucker.
Who is a two-faced, lying sociopath sucker. Print that.
Coach Greg and Mike Israetel have had one of the longest running feuds in the fitness influencer space, and maybe for one of the pettiest reasons imaginable. It all started back in 2019 when Jeff Nippard uploaded a video talking about training volume and whether or not training too much could actually be killing your gains. If you know Greg, you'd know that he'd want to reply to this, and did so in emphatic fashion.
To tell someone to hold back when they're already holding back is moronic and asinine.
Greg's whole philosophy is to train harder than last time. He even has a whole supplement range under the same name. So when he hears influencers telling people to hold back, he of course holds a strong opinion.
Come on, no it's not. 2 to 3 reps shy of failure is a warm-up set for this boy. I don't train like a pussy.
Someone else who holds a strong opinion on the subject is Dr. Mike Israetel, who despite not holding an IFBB pro card like Coach Greg does, holds a PhD in sports physiology and is one of the biggest advocates for science-based lifting. So when Greg called people who train in this way pussies, you know Mike had to clap back.
They don't train hard, they hold back. So you train like a pussy, Mike.
Yeah, that may be very well be the case.
He made a full podcast appearance and essentially contradicted most of Coach Greg's advice to just train harder and harder, advocating for a science-based approach, looking at your different training markers, such as your MEV and perceived exhaustion. Funnily enough, Mike did admit that training harder does give better gains, but they're so marginal they aren't worth the increased fatigue and chance of injury.
The thing is that if you look deeply into the literature on training to failure and you read a bunch of other related things from sports science, going to failure on something, especially with a psychological component just tuned in and you're really going to failure, the stimulus seems to, I would bet that going to failure does actually grow more muscle.
Now, of course, this is all pretty mild, and it would stay that way even during their face-to-face debate on the subject of training volume. You might have expected Greg to deploy his classic online persona during this.
I didn't make it up. It's on the net, you moron. Stop being a moron.
But it didn't really turn out that way. Greg was seen to be completely different to how he acts on his videos, which seemingly took Mike by surprise, as he came into the interview seeming annoyed and uninterested from the very beginning.
I'm just trying to give a suggestion of how you would know you're also giving a suggestion. And so pick the one you like.
Mine seems to be based on proxy indicators for hypertrophy, the pump, perception of tension in the muscle, the amount of fatigue and soreness and performance. Yours seems to be based on the 10% number, and I've just, one of those might be more precise than the other, and one of those might auto-regulate better to an individual over time than the other.
See, the average person, when you said what you just said, doesn't understand that.
He even later admitted he came into this interview with a plan to destroy Coach Greg intellectually and embarrass him, which probably didn't help his mood during it. The topic of training volume isn't exactly exciting or something that should really cause this much beef, but Mike seemed to let the occasion of debating Greg get to him, as he allowed Greg's opinion on the matter to annoy him this much. After this was posted, fans were quick to point out how they were disappointed with Mike, and that he was being far too passive-aggressive towards Greg, while Greg seemed to be open to learning. Since then, they've had multiple run-ins and appearances together on different podcasts, but nothing would really suggest that they had any major beef. That was until Dr. Mike made a shock appearance on Zach T-Lander's podcast and fully unloaded on Coach Greg in a now infamous rant.
They had a debate back in the day on Omar Isuf's channel with Greg Doucette, who is a two-faced lying sociopath sucker. Print that. And he talked mad in his videos with his fake voice about how stupid I was and how wrong I was about volume or whatever it was about. And I was like, oh, this guy wants a shot at the title. So when we got face to face in a debate, I mirrored that energy. And he turned off his parrot voice and went straight into nice guy agreeable mode. And almost all the comments were like, oh my God, this Mike guy's a asshole. And this Greg guy just came to the conversation to try to learn. No, he didn't. He's trying to learn shit. He's like, just totally two-faced.
Some important context here is that Mike was on high doses of steroids at the time, which he himself admitted made him full of rage every single day. But even so, the rant he embarked on was shocking nonetheless. Greg responded and seemed to try and take the high road in the original video, but has since been clowning on Dr. Mike in most of his recent uploads, such as making fun of his tan and his physique, even comparing him to the Thing from Fantastic Four. This seems to be the height of the beef for now, which is the complete opposite to Rich Piana and Mac Truck, whose online beef ended up spilling out into an all-out brawl. Rich Piana, who tragically lost his life in August of 2017, was known as one of the most likable people in the industry, which made it even more shocking when he was slapped by one of his former co-workers, Mac Truck, a former gang member who worked for Rich's 5% nutrition brand. However, the pair never really saw eye to eye throughout their entire working relationship, from Mac's worry about the 5% name not being right, and the fact that Mac felt like he could be bigger than Rich and 5%, with him ultimately deciding he was being held back. He decided to leave 5% and released a video statement alongside this decision, which led many people to believe that nothing was wrong between the pair.
Well, nothing happened. And when I say nothing happened, literally nothing happened.
He claimed that he left on good terms and that he and Rich were still friends. However, behind the scenes, Mac was said to have felt disrespected and underappreciated by Rich, who never really commented on the situation. This seemed to be proven after the pair met up at the LA Fitness Expo of 2017, where the following shocking events occurred.
Take a walk. Take a walk. Come on,
This footage was captured by Mac Truck's team, and you can clearly hear Rich trying to de-escalate the situation by attempting to bring the altercation to a different area where they weren't surrounded by their teams. However, as you can see from the footage, Mac refuses to listen and sucker punches Rich. In alternate footage though, Mac looks a lot less gangster than he's acting, as it shows him slapping Rich and then running away behind his team members, only to be chased down by Rich's entourage. Even though Rich took the original punch, many fans noticed that he didn't get involved in the following brawl, with Reddit commenters commending him for making sure that people around the scrap were safe. There was a massive brawl afterwards where the two groups fight, and Rich can actually be seen pushing Mac's group away after his friend was injured. After the incident, Mac made a video bragging about it and gave a warning to Rich as to what would happen if he was to ever see him again.
So we know now when we see that nigga, it's on sight. Or a nigga better apologize, That's just that simple.
Well, it seems like Rich has had the last laugh, as Mack Truck's career has went up in flames since this incident, with his fans seeing what he's truly like and the coward he really is. Mack's career took a similar trajectory of that of Jason Blaha's, who honestly could be put on this list 1,000 more times for various online disputes, but his most infamous was his beef with Norton, which ended up in a lawsuit. This lawsuit would end up being pretty pricey for Jason, but if he'd used today's sponsor Rocket Money, he would have no problems paying it off. The other day, I checked my old PayPal account and realized I was still paying for my Discord Nitro subscription for my incredibly active Discord server, and it was just eating my money alongside other frankly useless subscriptions that I had. If this sounds like something you've experienced, today's sponsor Rocket Money is here to help, and to be honest, it's the app that you need to save more and manage your money better. They do have features such as budgeting and automating savings. However, the real reason I love them so much is for how easy it is to manage your subscriptions, which even goes as far as to cancelling them for you. This can save you so much time and effort cancelling that subscription that you've been putting off because you can't be bothered to go through the whole process and customer services begging to keep you. With just a few clicks, Rocket Money will cancel this for you. If you use all of the app's premium features, you can save up to $740 every single year, with over $500 million saved in cancelled subscriptions, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. If you also want to experience these features and join over 5 million members using Rocket Money, head to rocketmoney.com/BigCraig, or just click the link in the description to get started for free. Thank you so much for downloading and supporting the channel. Now let's get back into the insanity of Jason Blaha. Jason Blaha, if you aren't aware, was a pretty popular YouTuber back in the day, especially with his ice cream fitness program, which people like David Lade and Joe Fazer actually used when they were starting out in their fitness journey. Dr. Norton was also someone who was popular at the time on YouTube around 10 years ago in 2013, who made educational videos on muscle building and fat loss. This is around the first time their paths crossed too, and it all started with Jason Blaha calling out Norton for not being truthful about his natural status, making baseless claims that he was taking steroids. Not only this, but Blaha actually claimed Lane's research was paid for by supplement companies, and this claim alone could have been enough to shatter the brand Norton had built for himself, which was an honest and transparent science-based lifter. The claims from Jason led a lot of his fans to abuse Lane, which then led to threats being given out to Lane's family. Lane initially thought he was joking or trolling, but once the death threats against his newborn son started coming, he knew he had to step in. In order to protect not only his reputation but his family too, he sent a cease and desist letter to Jason and demanded a public apology. But Jason actually ignored this and carried on repeating claims about Lane's research and character. If you know anything about Jason, this isn't exactly shocking, as he prides himself as an alpha male and intimidating to other men as he puts it, but in reality he just comes across as totally unhinged and a bit of a clown in the industry. Some of his insane claims are that he has an unbelievably high IQ, so high he doesn't share it because he knows his audience won't believe it.
What is your measured IQ? If I told you, you're not going to believe me. I have had a Stanford Binet conducted by someone qualified to give the Stanford Binet, but I'm not going to say it because people are just going to think that I'm lying.
Despite this high IQ, he can't quite figure out how to set up a live stream on Facebook.
All right, I'm going to try this one more.
Lane wasn't laughing though, and he had had enough of Jason's antics, finally suing him for an injunction in the UK, which essentially meant that Jason wasn't able to repeat the claims about Lane again. Jason actually laughed about the fact that it could go to court, and claimed that if it made it that far, he would just countersue and win the case, saying that Lane wouldn't want to be exposed for his steroid usage, showing just how unhinged and backwards he really is. Obviously, it did go to court, and of course, Jason didn't show up, essentially burying his head in the sand, which meant Lane won the case. Jason's videos have all been removed, but we know in-depth details of the situation from a video Lane uploaded, titled The Story of the Jason Blaha Ordeal. However, if you think this story was done, you'd be wrong, as Jason still to this day talks about Lane, and just 1 month ago, in August of 2024, claimed that Lane wanted to douse Jason in petrol and watch him burn. Just like Jack's Fitness burned his entire career by collaborating with OF UF girls, developing a massive ego and suffering a public embarrassment at the hands of Dave Trains, who banned him from his lifting event. Jack's fitness has turned into a bit of a meme in the fitness community after trying to bulk up for an entire year only to actually lose weight. I have an entire video on Jack and his backstory, but for those who haven't seen that yet, he's a severely underweight 18-year-old who was thrust into fame very quickly, with fans hoping they were witnessing the next Joe Frazier. However, it seems as though his head was turned by fame and money, as he started to chase views through rage bait and ridiculous collaborations. Most of the fitness industry were cheering him on, which makes his attitude towards the gym even more infuriating, as he threw all of this help he got back in their faces. While watching his downfall, the entirety of the internet was bored of Jack's antics, including Coach Greg, but one person who'd had more than enough was Dave Trains, owner of the pre-workout Overdrive and professional Jacksfit hater. Dave made numerous videos on Jack in the past, including critiquing his arm day, and in the beginning, like everyone else, he was pretty supportive. However, when Jack fell down the influencer rabbit hole, so did everyone's opinion of him. He wasn't training, and despite trying for almost a full year, still wasn't gaining weight and not taking the gym seriously.
I have in fact lost weight.
Comments on his videos weren't exactly the best either, after they claimed he'd hit rock bottom after collabing with infamous OF creator Duett. Around this time, Dave was holding a lifting event with Overdrive where he and other UK influencers would all be hitting their PRs and lifting together. Jacksfit messaged Dave saying he couldn't wait to come. However, Dave barred him from attending and gave an emphatic response, saying what we were all thinking.
Yes, Jack, I'm not going to change my mind. You're not allowed to come because you don't lift.
After Jack replied, clearly annoyed at Dave, Dave gave us yet another response to Jack, which seemed to close the book on Jack's fitness career.
You said I couldn't come to the event because I don't lift. Yes, my content has switched up a bit, but I am still going to the gym quite regularly. I've been working hard, I've been grafting in the gym, and for you to just come along and say I don't lift is quite disrespectful.
So far, it's been all fun and games, it's just been a little dig, but let's put this straight, all right? You have made absolutely dog shit progress. That's number one. Number two, the reason why people dislike you is because you pull shit that you shouldn't be pulling. There's a reason why my protein dropped you. There's a reason why hard body dropped you. There's a reason why now you're left scraping for money, trying to hang on to any little last penny you can with Cameo, and you want to show up to every event that you can in order to get the attention that you never had as a kid, all right? Let's just leave it there.
But all was not lost, and not long after this video, he seemed to see the error of his ways and apologized to his fans, vowing to stick to the gym and focus on his fitness journey in an attempt to finally gain weight. Except this wouldn't really last very long, as on the 10th of July 2024, Jack released a video calling Dave out and claiming that he was using Jack's name to make money on TikTok. But Dave would then give this embarrassing response and reveal just how much he'd actually earned from using Jack's name.
Alright Jack, let's see how much your sick name and your sick fame, how much money it brings in to me, because I'm doing it for the money. Clearly. Let's have RPM 62p, and I have made a total of £44 and 34 pence.
The next day, Dave gave Jack a challenge to bench 60 kg for £500, and if Jack failed, he needed to make a 60-second glazing video talking about how great Dave is. Soon after, Jack gave his response.
The time is upon us, where Jacksfit finally starts benching. Road to one plate is upon us. 60 kg, I'm coming for you. Dave Trains, challenge accepted.
So now, Jack had 2 months to bench 60 kg for just 1 rep, and even started a series to track his progress, which went about as well as you're probably expecting. He obviously failed spectacularly, and to this day, still hasn't got close to a 60 kg bench press, and has still failed to give Dave his glazing video, not holding up his end of the bet. Since then, Dave has said he is completely done with Jack, and honestly, we can't blame him. Although Jack and Dave are relatively new influencers, 2 people who aren't are Jeff Nippard and Greg Doucette, who've had a long-standing feud with each other, with Greg stating that Jeff Nippard hates him more than every single person on earth.
He's the only one that I would say is genuinely, hates me, horribly.
Greg Doucette could have featured on this list 100 more times, as he's probably the most controversial influencer on this list. However, his beef with Jeff Nippard is probably the most famous, as the pair are very public about their thoughts on one another. At the beginning of their careers though, the pair were actually friends, with Greg stating he used to see Jeff in the gym sometimes as they lived near each other in Canada. Since then though, their channels have each gained over 5 million followers combined, around 100 times the size of my channel, so make sure you subscribe so that we can catch up to Coach Greg. With these followers though, they seem to have had a falling out big time. The earliest I can see them having beef was with the Stephanie Buttermore incident, who's a lifestyle influencer and is Jeff Nippard's long-term fiance. Stephanie Buttermore has been very open about her body image issues in the past, suffering from eating disorders and mental health issues, which her fans obviously love her for and shower her in praise for being so transparent. This content though is perfect for Coach Greg to react to, and he attracted a lot of flack from commenters after he shamed Stephanie, calling her obese and even calling her a pig. He has since apologized for this comment, but that didn't change the fact that a lot of people changed their opinion on Greg, namely Jeff Nippard. They already have totally conflicting views on how to train and create content, and they clown on each other in videos for it, with Greg uploading countless videos on Jeff Nippard reacting to his fitness advice. The real beef though seems to be off camera, and Jeff may not be as innocent as he looks in the videos. After Will Tennyson posted this image on Instagram with Coach Greg, Jeff responded with, "Is that the guy that sells testosterone without any testosterone in it?" This comment has since been removed, but there's more to come. Greg has accused Jeff of having a fake personality on camera and said that Jeff is completely different to how he portrays himself, even to the point of saying disgusting things to Greg and his girlfriend.
I see how he is on camera and I see how he is behind the scenes, and it's a different person. At least me on camera and behind, like, I'm not meaner off camera. If anything, I'm a lot nicer. And so you don't get that vibe. Like, somebody meet me and they're like, expect me to be confrontational, but like, all you did was smile and say nice things the whole time. But when somebody else is like mean off camera, like some of the messages that we had, the choice of words he's used, things he said to my partner, like, it's just, yeah.
In the same podcast, Greg said that Jeff Nippard's voice annoys him like no other, which seems quite surprising coming from Greg.
Annoying. Jeff Nippard. Annoying.
Why?
His voice.
Greg made these revelations on the Bradley Martyn podcast, who himself has been involved in some insane beefs, starting with the most infamous evolving a business deal turned sour with Callum von Moger. Bradley Martyn has been involved in a lot of controversy over the years, so has Callum von Moger, who famously went totally downhill over COVID after being addicted to alcohol and drugs. This beef though was in 2016, and the two titans of the fitness industry were about to launch their first ever company together.
Callum and I are doing something special together. Okay, we're launching a company.
This company would end up being known as Origin Subs, and if you take a quick visit to their website, you'll notice that only Bradley is featured on the front end of the homepage, which leaves you wondering what happened to the partnership. The truth is, fans were questioning their partnership from the very beginning, with one Reddit commenter saying, "If you watch the videos with Brad and Callum together, you can obviously tell their personalities don't really click together," and this was actually hitting the nail on the head, as it seemed to perfectly foreshadow what happened next. Callum has revealed that even though he was supposed to be the face of the company, his business partners brought Bradley on board, and he later wanted a percentage of the website, which he got lawyers in to draft up contracts for. Callum claims Bradley double-crossed him by going through the business partners and not him, with Bradley essentially attempting to cut Callum out of the business entirely. Instagram comments from this time show just how angry Callum was at Bradley for this, calling him a pussy and threatened to release the whole situation due to the sheer anger he was holding back in public. Behind the scenes though, he was raging with Bradley, and if he thought this was bad enough, it would continue to go downhill from here. After a while and a lot of behind the scenes work, which left Brad alone in the business, the pair released a video titled "Squashing the Beef with Bradley Martyn," but it seemed like this did anything but. In the video, Bradley apologizes for past issues, for double-crossing and betraying Callum, with Callum speaking his mind in front of Bradley, telling him how he felt.
Yeah, I felt kind of left out and betrayed with some things, and I lost some trust there, and I wasn't communicated to about a few problems, so it just kind of left me no choice. I didn't want to be involved with something that is going to cause me problems and conflict down the road, so I just walked, and I left the company to Brad, and to the other partners I didn't care, I just wanted out.
However, despite them shaking hands at the end of the video, Callum is clearly annoyed throughout, and at the end, scrunched up his papers he wanted to read in a sign of clear frustration. Bradley uploaded an apology video at the same time as this, which he shortly deleted, which seemingly showed he didn't really mean it at all. In the comments of the video Callum uploaded, he responded with threats to destroy Bradley's entire reputation. And so Bradley has deleted his fake apology video. Should he make a video about everything else he tried to manipulate me with? There's a lot of stuff I didn't say in this video because Bradley didn't want me to expose any more than I had to. And as it turns out, these weren't empty threats, as Callum uploaded a video titled Raw Truth, in which he completely exposed the back-end relationship the pair had, and it's shocking to say the least.
I'm going to cut the head off the snake, talk to you guys about what the fuck happened with me and Brad, okay? First off, let me take my hat off because it's rude to wear hats inside. Brad apologised, but I didn't give 2 fucks because I felt betrayed. So he did try to apologise about everything with Origin stuff, and I didn't get back to him, I didn't write back to him or nothing. Brad had a better deal than me in the company to begin with, yet he was getting a power trip because he was worried that he was going to bring more traffic than I was, and which didn't make any sense because he's going to get paid more anyway.
Callum isn't the only person to have issues with Bradley Martyn too, as the final beef shows what can happen when Bradley, who weighs 260 pounds by the way, got into a fight outside a boxing ring. Bradley Martyn often brags about his weight and how at his current size, nobody could beat him in a street fight, where there are no rules and he would be free to throw his weight about. He's been ridiculed about this for a year now, but someone who truly felt the force of his punches was Vitali, of Vitalized HD, who seemed to regret grabbing Brad by the throat. There isn't really much backstory to this one unfortunately, but given Vitali's downfall into alcohol, drugs, and being arrested for allegedly beating up women, you can probably imagine he said something to Brad during the fight that he didn't appreciate. This was during the Logan Paul and KSI fight, and apparently Vitali was shouting from the crowd, challenging the pair to a fight, with Brad then telling Vitali to shut up and fight him instead, and what happened next was caught in 4K. Some of these influencers haven't been the most popular, and some of them have been downright hated. And if you want to see the most loved versus the most hated fitness influencers, click the video that's on your screen now, and I'll see you in the next one.
And so highly recommend you go and follow Big Craig, 31,000 followers.